5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to From the Office, here with my man Kyle Frisbie. This is the intro. What's up, Kyle? How you doing, man?
Not too bad. Not too bad for my first real day in Albany.
Good. We are here, live from the office. As all of you know, you can listen to Kinda Live, Kinda Living, and From the Office on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud. You can watch it on YouTube and Facebook Live like you are right now. And this, guys, will be our last episode of From the Office for the rest of the year, and we'll be going full-fledged in it in 2021. I'm here with my main man, the most annoying photographer I've ever met in my life. But damn, he's good at it. Kyle Frisbie. How you doing, Kyle?
Oh, not too bad. Definitely been wanting to come on for a podcast. It's been a while coming.
It has been a while.
It's definitely been in the back of my mind for quite some time.
Well, that's the thing, man. You joined on, like, when did you start shooting concerts?
It's funny because I actually just had it pop up a while ago. It was November, I think around like the 10th. I shot Dark Star.
Dark Star Orchestra was the first concert you shot for us.
Yeah, that was the first show up at the State Theater, and it was awesome because it was insane to come in on a sold out show. Like,
right.
I didn't come in on something that was like an opening band or something like that. Like, I didn't go to a small venue. It was cool to go to a theater for my first show. Like,
no, and that's awesome, man. Like the first concert I ever shot was in a dingy bar in Plattsburgh, New York. Which that dingy bar is the Monopole. It's really great. And,
it's great for a dingy bar, right?
It's great for a dingy bar. They have the stoner wings. It's a good time when you go there. But yeah, no, I for that, I mean, okay, going to something, you know, you're new with what we're doing. You have this position to shoot a large concert, and you know,
right.
State Theater holds at least 1,000 to 1,500 people. You're in the photo pit. What was it like being in that situation for the first time of your life?
It was insane. Like, it was definitely great because they only had one other photographer that night, which was actually like a friend of the band. So I had basically they did the 15 minutes, obviously, like it's pretty traditional for theaters or bigger. But I had like free range. Like, I wasn't tripping over people. It wasn't crowded. Like, it was a great, like, first time to shoot. Like, I couldn't have asked for a better experience for my first time.
That's awesome, man. I mean, it is such a thrill being able to not only, of course, seeing live music is such an incredible thing to do, but also when you're on the other side and you're working it, you're shooting it, you get to be close to what could be your hero. I mean, it's right. A vulnerable experience, but it's something that never gets old. When you get into the photo pit, if you're a concert photographer, it is like a new thing every time, even if it's the same venue that you shot each and every time.
Right.
It's just such a good feeling. And like, how did it feel after the 15 minutes? You know, set aside what you got out of your camera, but like, what was it? Did you
just the experience?
Yeah.
In general,
how did it feel? Like,
it
walking
felt
out
great,
that?
and like, I can't remember if it was the first set or the second set, but like, they were pretty lenient. It wasn't like on the dot 15 minutes. Like, they let me stay longer, so that was cool too. It wasn't like, nope, it's 15 minutes, you're out. Like,
right.
The State Theater has some pretty good security, and like the people that work there are good. It's not this place where they take it super seriously and everything is to a T. Like, they run the show well, but they're loose enough where people can enjoy themselves and feel comfortable. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, now, you've been to shows where it's like on the dot, 15 minutes, you're out.
Right, and that's been like some of the more, I guess, I wouldn't say serious situations, but different rules apply when you're shooting in a club compared to shooting at a venue like Madison Square Garden. And like shooting at a venue like Madison Square Garden, the rule is 3 minutes. And this is just a general rule of when you're shooting concert photography in a pit, if you're shooting for press, is you get 15 minutes, depending on if it's a band that plays extended songs, like a jam band, or 3 songs of any other band. And, you have somebody watching you, you got to take it as serious as possible. And because the thing is, the people who are standing on stage across from you, they're millionaires. They're people who are like the most professional musicians that have toured across the world. And yeah, you got to kind of put it, like, for example, for Fish, the first time I shot Fish, I had to put it aside that I love these guys. I can't cheer for them. I can't do this. I can't do that. Because
you can't be a fanboy in the pit.
Like, you can't be a fanboy in the pit. You got to play your role. And as exciting as it is to be 6 feet away from Trey, you quickly learn that by watching the other photographers how to handle yourself while you're in there.
Right. And you got to always remember where you are. It's not like you just sit there and watch the show for a bit. No, like you're there to take pictures. You can watch the show after you shoot. Like it's like it's a different thing being in the pit.
It is completely different thing.
It's kind of hard to explain unless you've been in there.
So would you say by going and shooting a bigger concert like Dark Star Orchestra at the State Theater prepared you for even smaller venues?
I mean, in a sense, yeah. And it was after when I went to do to do editing and everything, it kind of really sunk in, like how big the State Theater is and everything. And I was honestly like kind of disappointed because it's like, wow, like there's definitely a lot of learning to be done. Like there's a venue like that has quite a bit of darkness. Like there's things you've got to compensate for. It's not like you just go in there like a daytime like festival and you're just you get any shot you want. Like you've got to be on your game. It's not like taking pictures of the landscape. Like it's a different thing entirely.
Yeah, I mean when you're dealing with like you said, the darkness of a
you've
venue.
Been there.
Yeah, of course, and like it's about how you adapt to it. And like I was happy that I shot in dark places, not the most lit, because I understood how to control light at that point. And that's the thing, when you're shooting concerts and you're in a dark place, you need a camera that is going to at least be able to get you the shots you need without completely blowing
a ridiculous amount of noise.
Exactly. And you know what? There's certain ways to get around it. But at first, when you first start shooting concert photography, just shooting is the most important part. Everything else is secondary, because you got to get comfortable with it. You got to get comfortable with the person behind you shoving you, if there is no barricade or this thing that's in the way, or I gotta make my way up to the crowd because there is no photo section, and you got to fight to get the good stuff, and that's what makes the shots more worthy at the end of the day. But now just before we really get into who you are, Kyle, I want to talk about I just want to talk about how much experience did you have in photography prior to shooting concert photography?
Just in general, or concerts too? Like
just in general. Like
general,
what was the first time you picked up a camera? As I picked up my book.
That's not a camera, Frank.
This is not a camera.
But yeah, my first time was in high school. It just started off for fun. Like, I went to Bow High in New Hampshire, and quite a few people were into photography, so I kind of wanted to pick it up too, try it out, and I ended up picking up a T3i and started just playing around with landscape to begin with. That was like solely what I did, like just landscape.
So you took advantage of the surroundings that you were in,
right,
to make best of the use of the camera.
It's funny, to be honest, like initially I was like somewhat intimidated of doing like portrait and stuff like that, or even like concert photography. Like taking pictures of people was initially intimidating from a DSLR, or I run a mirrorless, or was running the Fujifilm, which is mirrorless, but you know what I mean.
Right, just any camera.
It's intimidating at first.
It is. It's intimidating because you got to tell somebody how to stand, how to pose, to smile, to smirk, and placing the person in a way where they're comfortable is really hard, and it's just something that you get better at when you take the time,
right.
gain the experience. It's shit, you know what I'm saying?
It's just one of those things, like, you can't. You're never going to be day one or even like the first month of using a camera. You're not going to be a Jay Blakesberg like in a month of using a camera. Like,
right.
It's intimidating at first, and you might think you know what you're doing, but then you realize the more you do,
you don't.
Like, holy shit, like there's a lot to do. Like, this isn't simple. There's a lot to it, like to do it well.
And that's why there's such a big misconception with shooting concerts, and not shooting concerts, but shooting photos. People think if you have the best camera, you're going to get the best shots, but unless you know how to use the tool that is standard, all the settings are standard across every single camera manufacturer, then you really don't know what you're doing, because you got to understand how to balance shutter speed, ISO, and exposure, and you know where to place that f-stop, because you know, just for an example of once people get into it, they think that, you know, having a wide open f-stop like f1.8 is the best, and you should only shoot at 1.8, but all of matter of fact, it's completely bullshit, because the thing is, you take a photographer like Ansel Adams. He shot at like f22 to f30.
Right.
Why? Because he wanted every single thing in focus.
It depends on what you're trying to accomplish with your picture.
Right. Sometimes
if you want to shoot low light, you're going to want like a 1.4, 1.8, 2.8. Like, those are great. But if you're shooting landscape or you're just doing portrait like in a really well lit area, really, why do you need 1.8, 1.4, 2.8? It's just not needed. Like,
exactly, and it's not like you throw on a f1.8 lens and you can't go to f15, 16 on that lens, because you can. All lenses can, and yeah, exactly. If you're shooting low light, having the lower number f-stops is the way to go. But again, let's say you want, you know, there's distance in between the musicians, then it's okay. I gotta open up. I gotta close down my f-stop just a little bit, so that way it gets the shot I need. Right. So Kyle, you made the journey today from New Hampshire. I gotta ask. I've seen you once since all this, right? Twice. I've seen you twice.
Since the year of hell, yes, you've only seen me.
I've seen you twice. We saw each other at a secret
because the LA Getaway and the another La Special event. Funny enough, both times I've seen you this year was because of La Special. So
La Special brought
definitely
us together.
Thank you guys in La Special for like allowing me to come out. Like, everybody knows that you want Frankie at your show, but
stop.
I enjoyed that. Like, I got to go to those things. It was definitely like one of the highlights of this year for sure.
So how have you been handling just COVID in general, and how? I guess since we're on the theme of concert photography, what are the type of concerts you've been to this summer, and how is your state handling it different than the great old New York State?
Well, obviously there's huge differences because due to population and everything, but like in general, out of the states that have Republican governors, New Hampshire's pretty good. Like, we have mask mandates. Like, the governor takes it seriously. That's definitely appreciated. I appreciate it, like, because it, like, everybody thinks, oh, it's no big deal until we were really into it, and you start, like, people that you know start getting it.
Right.
Your friend's grandfather just died because of it. Like, that's when it became real. Like, it's this disease from China initially, but once people actually like started being affected, like in your circle, you started really caring about the fact that there was mask mandates. So I definitely appreciate that New Hampshire's pretty strict while still allowing people to live their life and like have a living, because unfortunately I think there's some things in New York that are honestly slightly over the top. Like, I think they do make some things too hard for people to continue to live a decent life. Like, I think they're a little bit over the top. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree, but at the same time...
It's definitely nothing like... It's not horrendous. It's just, for me, like, from where I stand, like...
Well, that's the thing. You can't have different rules for everybody. And that's the thing. For the people who are following the rules, yeah, it sucks that they're not able to be able to just enjoy their lives because they're following the rules. But then you've got your knuckleheads who obviously don't really understand the level of seriousness that the disease has put people in. And if you look at the live music industry, and that's where it's like people like in the live music industry or other forms of entertainment are really fucked, is because the thing is, our things that we like to do involve people and involve a crowd, and you know, I would say the music industry has adapted really well to be able to get themselves through this. But at the same time, we're in our second dip. At least now, like November on, it feels like a dip to me. I don't know about you.
What do you mean?
Like a dip in the sense of it's like, okay, the first 3 months of this shit, we were like, okay, what are we gonna do?
I think in terms of regulation, yeah, but New Hampshire, like we have had times where we've had a little bit of a scare. So there's still definitely challenges, and definitely there's a need to take it seriously. Obviously, we're both wearing masks on the show because of that.
Yep.
Like, and on the whole bands thing too, and music venues, it's like I'd like to just talk about the fact, like, I'm pretty impressed logistically how bands and venues work together to figure out a way to safely get music to people that want it, because there's a lot of people like you and I know, and like even us ourselves, that enjoy going to concerts like regularly, and that's like a part of our life. So when that's gone, it's like, well, that's a huge piece. Like, yeah, you can find stuff to replace it, but it really stinks at first. That's for sure, and it definitely was helpful that they were able to figure out a safe way to do shows between like doing live streams or doing drive-ins, and I've been seeing more of the pods and stuff now.
So explain to me, we were talking about this earlier when you got here, but New Hampshire has definitely been a hot spot for musical drive-ins. What are the venues that were popping in New Hampshire throughout the summer, and how did you feel that those venues handled not necessarily the precautions, but being able to keep everything fun while being safe?
Actually, like, I remember, like, because I'm on the Twiddle fan, I Twiddle and everything, and people just continually talk about the state of music on there and, like, what they're doing for shows, what they're listening to. So I noticed a lot of people really appreciated the New Hampshire drive-in at the Swansea Fairground, because they were the one show, or the one drive-in in New Hampshire, or in New England, my bad, that actually had a PA system, because that's kind of a huge challenge. Yeah. What
drive-in live, or live drive-in, or something like that?
I can't remember what they called it exactly. I just know that it was at the Swansea Fairgrounds.
Okay.
I didn't actually go to a show there, but I heard like nothing but good things from every show that came out of there. And because, as you know, you've shot, or you've gone to a couple of the drive-ins, and have you been to one that it's strictly your car, where you just have to listen to the show through your car?
Surprisingly, no. And that's the thing. I do wish I made it out to New Hampshire at some of the times, because Goose was like a band.
You definitely should have caught them in New Hampshire, because it was nice to have that. But you did go to. No, you didn't see them. It was Bill Burr at the South.
So
Farms.
so I guess for official like attending drive-in, I went to see Bill Burr at South Farms in Morris, Connecticut, and it was really cool because it was the pod system, and in the pod system, you had a bubble that you and another guest had to stay in, and the bubbles were spread out far enough where it was socially distanced, where people weren't on each other, and I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed not having to sit in a car or being even near my car.
Right.
Now on the flip, I've done about 4 or 5 drive-ins that I was working doing the live multicam production of it, and yeah, it just seemed like a different scene, and like I felt good, and like and don't get me wrong, like I am very happy and fortunate to say that I had gained a lot of business this year from live streaming and from doing multicam production at a live event.
Right.
But it didn't replace it didn't fill the void that I liked, because it was like the thing was, it was like I'm lucky that I've been able to see like 30 shows this year from behind the scenes.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like when you don't have that crowd, that atmosphere, it's like it is different. It's a little more sterile. But I will say, anything I've been a part of, it felt like for the attendee, it was a safe situation for somebody to go to.
Right.
And New York, just because of the Chainsmokers specifically, they fucked it up for everybody.
I honestly gotta say, I'm never gonna watch or listen to Chainsmokers again just because of that.
I've never listened to. I'm sure I know a couple of their songs from the radio, but I've never listened to them. It's just not my style of music. But after that, it really made me even lose more respect for them.
I mean, I think they definitely have a good following and stuff, but like, I don't know. It like I'm the same way as you. Like it kind of soured it. It was like
right,
well, and like why do I want to listen to this band now? And because there were shows that didn't happen due to that. Like
right.
It's not like it was just dangerous for the people that were there. Like it stopped things from happening. Like
it did stop things from happening, and that's the thing. And that especially with, organizing events and getting people together for these things. To still enjoy live music, there's a fine line you gotta walk, because it's like, is this unsafe, and am I being an asshole because of my own selfishness for wanting to play and do what I like to do, or is it I'm just not gonna play and not have the negative press to worry about, because that's something a band has to worry about now, is because of a situation like that. It's like,
right.
Well, what do you do? And that's why, like, for the states who have been doing it, they've definitely been doing it at a top-notch level, because there's been people have had great times and felt okay about being outdoors with other people, and it's outdoors too, and one of the concerts that you went to, explain to me, you went to a show that was indoors where people are seated. What show was that, and how was that managed? I think it was Solation, right? Everybody was inside.
No. I haven't gone to an indoor show. I've done 2 in New Hampshire. And both were outdoors.
Oh, they were outdoors.
No, I haven't actually gotten to go to an indoor show since like pre-COVID. The last show I did actually was, if Shadow watches this, he'll appreciate it, was at Swimmer, Six Fox, and who was the last one? I can't remember. Oh, the Trichomes, which is, you wouldn't really know them, but they're pretty decent in the jam. They're pretty decently sized for a New Hampshire jam band. Like,
they're like the New England area.
They're big in terms of New Hampshire, not like in terms of the U.S.
Right. That's cool, man. So, I mean, just with all of this, how have you been spending your downtime?
I've definitely had to compensate, because like I wanted to keep shooting and stuff. I don't want to like. Because as you know, the second you start taking 2-3 months off, you go back to it, and it's like a bicycle. Like, you never forget,
right.
But it's not the same thing when you go back to it after a long break. Like,
right.
You've got to ease back into it. So being able to minimize the time that you're away from the camera is really good, because if you want to continue with it. Which I'm definitely not somebody that wants to stop because of the COVID. Like, I'm not going to let that ruin what I had started. Like, I enjoy doing it. It's a fun thing to do. Like,
it is a fun thing to do, for sure. I mean, I definitely, like we were talking about it before, like, you got to make photo missions for yourself to keep on enjoying it. And like when I first started, when all this shit happened at first, and the thing that I did was I would drive around Lake George or familiar areas by myself, listen to music in the car that I loved, and went and shot photos by myself. Did solo, and tried to still stay active, but But yeah, I mean, it's quite the adjustment. I feel like I've learned a lot about myself and looked at life a little differently from this. But
Right.
you know, this is an experience that I think all of us will, you know, looking back, will be like, just appreciate things
That
on
we
the
made
other
it
side
through.
a little more. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And I think speaking on that, like we were talking earlier, like I was telling you earlier, like at first it was like, honestly, to be honest, it was like hell at first. Like not being able to be comfortable to go outside, having to wear a mask. Like initially it was like,
am I gonna touch
what
this
is
gas?
this?
Am
Like,
I gonna touch this gas pump and catch COVID? Yeah.
Right. Like when you didn't know much about it, it was definitely scary.
Yep.
But as we went into it, I think I'm trying to look at it, because that's the only way I can kind of make myself feel better about it, is look at the things it's forced you to do. Like for me personally, it's forced me to stop, not go out and shoot shows as much, but that's disappointing. But in turn, also it's helped, like I've worked on getting myself where I need to be, like focusing on how I need to get myself forward.
That's good, man.
Like in terms of non-photography, like getting where I want to be, like, because I still have a long ways to go. Still young, still gotta get a place of my own and everything that I like can settle down at. Like,
right.
Definitely want to get a nice place soon, and it helped me like focus on the things that I was just like,
you need to focus
I'll live where I live, if it's with a roommate or whatever. And
right.
I didn't really think much into it, and then COVID kind of made me realize that.
Yeah, man. Well, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy stuff.
Because like, what do you try to take positively out of it for yourself? Like, because what has been the positive for you personally?
So the positives for me are definitely the fact that I was able to adapt to live streaming, because things need to go virtually, and video was the platform to do it. Even recorded video in real estate, you know, went up. You know, I met the woman of my dreams, for sure.
Right, yeah, like, that's definitely been a highlight of the year.
It's definitely been a huge highlight. I mean, we got a house now, which is fucking awesome. Yeah. Like, getting this house
in Albany too. Like
in Albany, I'm really thankful for what I have had happen during this period of time. I will say that, like, on the flip side, with good things come bad, and for me, not necessarily bad, but because some of the workloads that I have on my own, it's just like I get stressed out, man. Like, you know, running Mirth Films, F. Cavone Productions, you know, maintaining.
Mirth takes a lot. Like
it does,
and it's not the only thing you do. Like there's a lot more to what Frankie does than just Mirth Films.
Like, what you see on the surface is one thing, what you see on the other side is another thing, and you know, it's just learning how to. I think I've enjoyed my life relaxing more than I ever have in the past 5 years this year, because my priorities have changed. I've spent more time, like, obviously hanging out with Mickey and like just shit like that, and whereas before, like, when it's just me, it's like, you know, I'm literally filling my schedule up to the point where it's 8 days a week. And that's not healthy. And just like towards the end of the year, like maybe started like last month or the month before, I was like, wow, like I'm like
really started to kind of hit you.
It's caught up
like
what, 5 years
how much you were doing.
Right, like 4 years of working and getting, like, doing things that I had to do. It just like was like I definitely felt like I felt like I'm overburdened, and it was a little nuts.
Because, and I feel like,
but the thing is, and this is something that we've also talked about. You can't take weekends off. Why? Because the thing is, if you have a dream that you want to follow and you want to pursue it and do the best at it and make a career out of it, you got to take everything you can get. You can't say no. You're a yes man until you can say no, and that day is when you get too much, and you got to you're at a crossroads. But the thing is, it's like when I knew that Mirth Films was something that could be something. It still could be something. I definitely want this at a bigger level.
Right, because like talk about like where we were before COVID hit. Like we were getting to the point where it was starting to really grow. Like
yeah, I would say like
it was
right
on the precipice
COVID.
of doing more stuff.
Exactly. We were at a point where shit was starting to really pop off, and we're on track to making this our best year yet. And if you want to just follow numbers, we are at our best year yet, but I don't feel fulfilled because there was so much that didn't happen, you know?
Right.
But, you know, it's if you really want something, you can get it. Just, you gotta, like I said, getting back to what I was saying is that, you know, I started Mirth Films while I was working at a company full time. Obviously, you don't have the time to spend during the day when you're working for somebody else to do that out of fairness for them and because you can't do that.
Right. You can only do so much with it at that point, or you could only do so much with it at that point in your career.
So I spent my nights, I spent my weekends working. And while it took toll on certain parts of my life and certain relationships, the payoff was huge to me. Because, like, now I have this thing with my friends that I get to experience, do what I love to do, and make money from doing it. And, like, I would have never met you if it wasn't for fucking...
Like, there's so many upsides to doing the photography, or the concert photography, and it's, like, initially you might not always notice, like, what those are.
Right.
But, like you're saying, like, now that we're settling down, you're really starting to notice the things that you've accomplished, like, not just... how big you've grown Mirth or what shows you've shot, like the people you've met, like
the people I've met, the relationships I've built.
Because that's honestly one of my favorite things.
The bushes I drank, like I like
always have to have a bush on the podcast.
Always. I know I just switched to Labatt Blue, but I gotta thank my Uncle Tony for the 30-pack. But yeah, no, exactly. Like I have some of the greatest memories from this wild ride experience, going to festivals, doing these things that got me in those doors because of my camera and what I did. Not because I was the cool guy or right. I was bringing something to benefit somebody. It was because I let my camera take the path, and I just wanted to follow it. And you know, a lot of doors open, like the podcast, Kind of Live, Kind of Living podcast, which is still, once everything gets back to normal, that's the priority, is the podcast with Doug. Right. And, but it was like, okay, now we're doing podcasting, we're doing live streaming. I never was an article writer. Yeah, I had experience from past.
Right, because you're a photographer. Hours. Initially, you're not a journalist.
I'm not a journalist.
That's not what you went to school for.
But then I was like, okay, if we do these articles, we do these things, then it's going to allow us into certain places. So it's like, okay, if we keep doing this, we're obviously going to make it somewhere. And right now, somewhere for us is being able to get into things and be a part of events that we enjoy. You know, down the road, I really hope that, depending on how much work we want to put into this, that it becomes something like a Vice media or like a Relics or whatever. Our job, we focus a lot on jam bands, but we're not trying to pigeonhole ourselves into just jam bands. There's a lot of other things that we like, and
I think that's just kind of coincidence too, because in the Northeast, there's a lot of is jam bands. You've got a ton in New York, you've got a ton in Vermont,
right? You've
got Connecticut. Like, it's just an area where that is what's popular.
And I'm not even saying it's a bad thing. It's just, you know, you follow your connections. And number one, I love the music, and there's so much talent in it that the mainstream wouldn't see. But it's just like those things, like being part of local acts, being a part of local shows that you can go to and access, and just realize that talent is only a few miles away from your house, you know?
Right.
But,
and kind of the people you get to bring in too, like when you go to do like Mo or something, it's not just you there running the full show. You get to bring in people, you get to build relationships, it's not just like a one-man show.
No, and you can't. The way things work, if you want them to grow, is you slowly got to add people to the team, because if you don't, then you're only going to be as big as what you can handle. So that's why,
Right.
in 2018, it wasn't like we had a bunch of people shooting for us. When we first
like
started,
just for example, what is it comparably 2018? What was the difference? What does it look like, or what did it look like back then versus now?
2018 was the wild, wild west for Mirth Films, and I mean that in the most sincerest way, because we were at a point in our lives where, okay, we can steer this ship any direction at this point, and it doesn't matter, but we needed to grow and build, and that's what we focused on, was building content, developing things. Like our first couple videos, like Ramona, follow him on Twitch as Pookie Dookie, but we did a...
Sorry, I always get a kick out of every time you say Pookie Dookie.
Pookie Dookie. Yeah, like when we were doing, we did top 5 ride sharing tips. I did, that time I was on Judge Judy. We did a video with this guy, King Juna Dread, who did a Drake remix. Nothing that related to this.
Right.
But, as things went on and people saw that we were active, we were doing things, they felt more comfortable to give us a press pass to this show or that show. This person wanted us to interview them, and it was cool, And that was my favorite thing about when we started, was it was cool to us. It was fun. It was like we had our own group of people. We identify as this, and this is how we're going about things. And then as slowly things got bigger, definitely in 2019 was to me,
that was a big year.
It was an important year, because I met you, I met Shadow, I met Jamie, I met Vic Brazen, I met, honestly, so many people, the list goes on. But, we had like this formula that we built up from 2018 to 2019, and we wanted to follow that formula. So that was producing article content, videos every single week. Live streaming wasn't yet a thing until later in 2019, but the podcast happened.
Right.
In February of 2019, I figured out how to go live, and and not just like by holding my phone up and going on Facebook and, hey guys, how you doing there? I'm here, itching my butt. It was.
You're not doing the what do you call it? Middle-aged man doing a Facebook video where he's just standing there using the selfie cam to take a video. Like you worked on it to make sure it was something that you felt proud of. It wasn't just like
right. And I have my own certain level of expectations too, because as a creator, as somebody who pays me to do what I do, along with providing original content to, this thing that started off as a passion project, I want it to be the best thing possible, because it's like I went to school for this. I got the experience, and I want it to resemble something that's professional and not just whipped together. And that's, it's for me, it's a challenge to have, and that's a good challenge, because I want only the best.
But in turn, that kind of it makes your other stuff that you do for work better, because you have more time with camera in hand, so you have almost no downtime. Like I mean that in the most positive way. It can sound really bad at times. It sounds pretty
bad, but yeah.
But if you have, say, you shoot shows 2 times a week, like I was before before COVID.
Yeah.
And then you go to nothing. Like you can get rusty. I mean, you're never gonna forget. Like I was saying, you never forget how to shoot, but things just aren't as seamless. Like it's always good to be like always on it.
Yeah, because you don't know what's gonna happen the next day. You can't take anything for granted, because for me it's like, okay, we built ourselves up to a certain point. Why throw all that away because I want to be lazy, you know?
And kind of like I was telling you earlier, I'll definitely still have to show it to you, but one of my go-to motivational guys is an ex-Navy SEAL called David Goggins, and he's somebody that I used to motivate me back on the whole idea of downtime sucks. Well, one of the videos I really like is he has a video called with Jocko Willink, who's also a SEAL, called Do What Sucks Every Day. Because you need to do things that are difficult, challenging, and maybe not fun at the time, but when you look back at it, you'll say, well, look at what I'm able to do now that I've done that. Like, look at how much I've learned. Because there are things at the time that might really suck, but down the road, you're like, wow, look at that, how that really positively affected my life and my career.
It's true, man. It really is, because nothing in life is easy. And you got to go through the experiences to get yourself to a better place. I just want to give a shout out to my man, Max O'Connell. Max O'Connell is a huge Fish fan from Lake George. Multi-talented on every single instrument. What's up, Max? Let's bring back Formula 5 in 2021.
Definitely, because unfortunately, I never got to shoot them. And I've met members of the band. I've met Matt, and I'm drawing a huge blank. Who was at LE Getaway?
Oh, Greg.
And I met Greg and I talked to Greg, and I was telling him I really missed. I wish I could have shot Formula 5, because now listening back to them, I'm like, well, damn, they were on the precipice of maybe starting to really get to it, get into it.
I thought so too, man. And you know what? Things happen, and I will say, I really believed in Formula 5's music. I thought it was top notch. I really thought they were going places myself, and at the end of the day, you look back at it, they have such a great collection of music, and it's just the fact that music exists is amazing. And I gotta thank them well, I will thank them every time I see them, but I really mean it when I say this. If it wasn't for Formula 5, I really wouldn't have been able to get the whole music video production side down, because I went to school with a couple of those guys. I knew them prior to music and my concert photography shit, and so there was a bond there, and just giving me the outlet to record video. There's not a day in my life where I don't think that I don't know where I'm trying to get at this.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to
how
say
much you really appreciate
them so
what you were able to accomplish with them and what you guys did together.
Too. Yeah,
because you were a big. I mean, it's not like you managed them, but you were really involved. There was times where
Doug and I both.
It was a huge part of what you were doing.
I identified as a Formula 5 fan. That's right. As anybody from Lake George or the upstate New York would. I just, if there is one wish I could make in the world, it would be to see Formula 5 live at any point in my lifetime again, because they played the Palace Theater, opening up for the Disco Biscuits on a big ass stage. That's huge.
Right.
But just to even on the flip, and being in a band I'd have known nothing about. There's a reason why I stand in front and take photos of bands and not play music. It's those bands are fucking talented, and I can't imagine what it's like going through the hell of touring, sleeping in your van, eating shit food, and
That's what I was going to talk about too. Is from a concert goer standpoint, you go, oh well, these guys are talented, but nobody ever really sees what goes into that, how much they have to work at what they do. Right. It's not people might think it's really fun, but there's definitely a lot behind it. There's having to go around state to state in a van that is beat up, is it's not fun all the time to do it initially, for sure, but you know what I mean. There's stages to it, and there's definitely a lot to it.
And the payoff is huge if you can do it right.
Right.
So I gotta ask you, just to switch up things, since if it's 45 minutes in.
Right, we're getting deep into it now.
It doesn't even feel like 45 minutes.
No, it felt like maybe 15 minutes went by, honestly.
Yeah, and but what do you think of the city of Albany just going and shooting photos?
I was definitely glad that I came. Coming in, I was noticing. I was like, yeah, it was definitely worth making the trip. There's definitely a lot of architecture that I definitely wanted to capture, and I have a few things out on Facebook right now. But it's nice to go to a place that's different and do a change of scenery. Because New Hampshire, most of what I'm doing is I'm gonna go to a river, do long exposure. It's nice to break out of what you normally do for photography. To do something different, push yourself, get something that's gonna make people look at your stuff again. Like, because if I've noticed, if you post the same stuff constantly, people like are only gonna take so much of it. Like, they want to see a change if you're gonna draw people in more.
Right, and that's where it's like, you know, getting into just Instagram. It's like you can people, you know, you can share the old photos, you can do this, do that, but you're not going out and experiencing new things, and you're spending more time on this fucking app that doesn't mean anything. You know, like, I really mean that. Like, I had so much fun going out and shooting today. I don't have like yeah, I got Ramon here, but like, you know, we all have different schedules in this house, and like going out and shooting photos.
It's not quite the same. Like, you don't get as much time to shoot. Like, you're not gonna get like a couple hours to go out like we did.
Have
today.
Fun and shoot, yeah,
and just go out for fun and not be like, oh, I need to get this shot. I need to do this. I need to do that. Just enjoy yourself and kind of break out of what you've been doing.
Yeah, and that's where it's like going and shooting as a hobby first makes this a whole world that I live in a lot more fun, for sure.
Right, and at least now you live in Albany, so there's definitely never a lack of things you can do. Like, 100%. You can go do street photography, you can go, like, we went to the Egg today to take a picture of the Egg. Like, there's so many things you can do in Albany. It's great.
It literally is. I think it's a city on the verge of having a huge population growth just because of overpopulation in other cities, and the fact that we have the infrastructure and landscape to be able to hold things like that. And just shout out to Dylan McKenzie. Dylan, for those who don't know Dylan, he's a six man. He watches every podcast. He's a technical director of the Kinda Live, Kinda Living podcast, and he's our hands down biggest supporter and teammate.
For sure.
Thank you so much, Dylan. We're so happy and thankful to have you as part of the team. It's you know, you got to keep on learning. As Dylan said in the comments, you got to keep on learning to grow, man. And just go by going out and shooting. It was like, what I learned today was new places to take portraits, because like there's a couple places up by New York State Museum that we were at. And I was just like, wow, I got to come here on the reg if I'm going to be with people.
Potentially use it for clients or something.
Yeah, I got to run into an old friend today that I haven't seen in like 8 years.
Damn, I know you said it was a long time, but like... Yeah, it's nice to run into people like that.
And I wouldn't have done that if you didn't come to Albany and I didn't go out and shoot. And that's what I'm saying.
Because I'm a huge believer in, like, if you do things the right way, if you get out, you do the things that you think that you plan to do, that occasionally things that are unexpected that are good will happen. Like, you'll run into people like that. Like, if you get out and you don't just stay in and let the pandemic bother you.
Exactly.
I mean, just get out, be safe, but like, don't let it overwhelm you too much.
Right. Exactly, man. And I gotta say, I've done about 60, probably like 60 podcasts now. 62.
Between that both, many at this point? Wow.
Between both. This has easily been the most clearest in my head in a long time. Just because I feel like I can actually talk about everything that we're doing, where it's like...
And like when you started it, did you think you'd be doing an episode 60 or 60th episode of it? No,
and like, you know, it's a combo of both the podcasts, but it's just something I found that I like doing, and I like sitting here and talking with people. And that's the cool thing about From the Office is we chat with people, and people I don't see in a while, like, and just random people sometimes, and like, it's fucking cool, man. And because I'm the type of person, I like being around people. I like doing things. I sit by myself. That shit eats away at me. It's not good for me. And, you know, the fact that you just came here, man, thank you so much. And
yeah, definitely. It was definitely worth making the trip. Like,
hell yeah, dude. And
between doing the podcast, like we were saying, and the shooting Albany, like, it was a great day. It was definitely worth making the trip for both of us. It was definitely a good call. Definitely,
and I'll have to return the favor. Now I gotta ask, and I didn't prepare you for this at all, but give me 3 things, that you want to focus on and accomplish in 2021.
Honestly, probably the first thing that's easiest to think of is I'd like to learn more about video. Like, I've shot, I helped shoot a special with you at a drive-in show. That it was kind of I don't know. It wasn't really low key. It was just how would you describe it? Because I don't want to describe it incorrectly. No. The one before that,
the private event.
Yeah.
I would say it was. What do you mean? How would I describe it?
I don't know. Like it was fun. It was fun. It was just different compared to like what most people think of when they're talking about the drive-ins. Like because most people think of we're gonna go to South Farms or we're gonna go to Cape.
Right.
We're gonna go to.
I thought
Swansea.
It was a chill environment that was relaxed on certain things and took the most important thing seriously.
Right. Because that was one of my highlights because it was just. I don't know. It was different. It was my first time like back at a show since the swimmer one that I was talking about that I was at with Shadow.
Right. Now I'll tell you so that's one.
That's one. Two would probably be make sure I get back at concerts like as soon as they are in full swing again, like at the same rate, like doing 2 shows a week at least or more, like to keep myself on track, like keep myself on what I was trying to do before the pandemic, to not lose focus, to not let it affect me too much. Like, you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying, man.
And probably the third one, I don't know. I'd kind of honestly have to think a little bit about that. I don't know, probably because I definitely want to up the amount of gear that I have. I want to get what do you call it? Definitely more lenses. Definitely getting a new full frame camera. Definitely want to get a Canon, and just upping what I have for gear. Like that's probably the third one.
That's good. Those are
you really threw me off a little bit with that question, so I had to think a little bit, but it was good. I'm definitely glad you asked that because it's good to keep in mind what you want to do for the future. Like
for sure,
if you don't plan. It's hard to continue to stay where you were, like before the pandemic, before things slowed down. Like I want to continue and I want to get back.
Good, man. Those are all accomplishable goals for sure, man. I'm gonna just say my three goals for 2021. Number 1, put my whole life on the line with Mirth Films, all or nothing in 2021, and that covers everything.
That's definitely a good one, yeah.
Number 2.
Even I can appreciate that one.
Number 2. I had it on my mind. Number 2, just kind of, I don't know, take better care of myself so that I can be a better supporter and just person for who needs me in my life, especially my teammates and
right.
And you know, I just
being more present, kind of.
Being more present and just not letting my personal life bog me down.
Right.
But number 3...
I'm not immune either. Like, you say that, like, I just want to let everybody know, like, you say that, but it's not just you. Everybody knows that there's something along the line that either slows you down, and are you going to let it stop you?
Right.
Or are you going to push through?
Or are you going to push through, exactly. And number 3 would definitely be the best boyfriend I could be for Mickey. I know it sounds definitely corny, but like
it's not corny, Frankie.
It's just like the thing is like I don't know. As I get older, because I'm not 22 anymore.
Right.
I there's certain things in my life that have changed that I wanna focus on, and that's being just a good human being for that person. Being somebody you can count on, and just like being able to be responsible, because I feel like like taking care of something like that, along with focusing on my dream, which is Mirth Films, like you get pulled in both directions. It's not a bad thing, but it's about how you handle it and how you dedicate the time to each equally. And I will say, I've probably worked like 60 hours a week doing Mirth Film stuff, like all of 2018, 2019, and I want to get back to that because I want to keep that forward graph going, and I think as long as we work our ass off, if you work your ass off, there's no way you're not going to get good things happening.
The problem with that is most people, that's the problem I think with our society right now is everybody wants instant gratification. They think, oh, if I go out for a month and I'm on it, I'm on my game, oh, I'm going to be so big. No, like,
No.
you've got to put in a lot of work. And that's the thing is, are you going to put in the work, or are you going to half-ass that you're going to go in, try it, and then decide, no. Like, what type of person do you want to be?
Exactly. What type of person do you want to be? And let us know in the comments below what your 3 goals are for the 2021. And but again,
I definitely know Dylan's got some good stuff coming.
Dylan, I know you got some good stuff. What are your 3 goals? I gotta say, I'm really happy that we're still doing this podcast. I'm really happy that Mirth Films exists. I can't wait for things to get back to normal, and thank you so much for coming on tonight, man.
Yeah, definitely.
As all of you know, you can listen to the Kind of Live, Kind of Living podcast on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud. You can watch live on YouTube and Facebook, and same goes along with the From the Office, like we're doing right now. And just thank you all for your support throughout the whole year. We couldn't have done it without you. And I guess we're gonna end it with a song. But before I do, how can people find you? How can people find you online and find your photography?
Unfortunately, I need to get a little bit more organized. So probably the best place right now, I feel bad saying this because I really need to have a good website and everything built, but I've neglected doing that.
So where can people find you?
That it should be on Instagram would be the best
What's
place.
What's your Instagram
Because it's open, it's totally public.
What's your Instagram handle?
Frisbie Photos is where I'm at on Instagram.
Frisbie Photos.
So if you're interested in looking at what I do, because I mostly do concert stuff, but right now, obviously, because of the lack of that, like I'm going to throw up some pictures from today in Albany. So just check it out. You can see what I'm up to.
Hell yeah, man. So I know we're going to end it with a certain song, but I think I have enough liquid courage in me where I'm going to sing too.
All right.
So we'll see. Just getting warmed up. Okay. Fa la 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 la. I'm just kidding.
No, Frankie, not that.
And I get up around 7 a.m. and I go to work at 9. Got no time for living, yeah, I gotta work all the time. It seems to me I can live my life a lot better than I think I can. And that's why they call me the working man. Call me the working man. That's what I am. And I get home around 5 o'clock and I grab myself a nice cold beer. 1 second.
Oh, here we go, Frankie. You got the ice cold beer. Well, mostly ice cold at this point.
Always seems to be wondering why there's nothing going on around here. It seems to me I can live my life a lot better than I think I can. And that's why they call me the working man. They call me the working man. That's what I am. Thank you so much for the little doodle, and thank you for listening to both of us. We are so happy that you tuned in to the Kind of Not Live, Kind of Not Living podcast. This is from The Office. Thank you so much. It's changed. There's
no
too
longer
much
Kind of Live, Kind of Living.
No more Kind of Live, Kind of Living. That's a lie. I don't know why we just said that. Always Kind of Live, Kind of Living. Will always be secondary, but thank you so much. We hope you have a great rest of the year, and
see you in 2021.
See you in 2021.